All right, we're back for episode 45 of the Idiot Circle. I'm Mike.
I'm Fred.
I'm Rob.
I'm Scott.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, second way into that. So
There you
everybody, we have a special guest. We have current head coach of the Richmond High School Blue Devils baseball team, Mr. Scott Evans. Mr. Scott Evans, thank you for coming on the show.
My privilege to be here, man.
Yep. Scott and I have a lot of history together.
We're sorry, Scott.
Many years. Believe me, I've seen Fred at his best and at his worst.
We could tell you some things.
What day was that when it was the best?
Let's go. We should do a round of how have we seen Fred at his best and how have we seen him at his worst. That would be
go
epic.
right ahead. This should be interesting. And I'll validate it if it's true or false.
It all would be true.
Oh yeah, okay. Because everything you say is true, Rob.
Such love on this panel here.
You gotta love family love.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yes. Well, I'm waiting, boys. Go ahead, lay it out.
Oh, we're gonna do that.
I don't care. Go for it.
Well, listen, I got something I'd kick it off with, and I probably everybody that's been a parent or been around youth sports. Let me ask you this, because you're a coach right now at the high school level. Do you think what we've segued our children into becoming like a one sport athlete instead of really driving that youth sports for they play a lot of sports throughout the years? They play baseball, they play basketball, they play football. Seems like now in our youth systems, we're just driving them to one sport. Do you find that? I mean, in your area? I mean,
local. I have a son that's a freshman, and locally, up to this point, all the kids have played all sports. Like we see the same people you see in the basketball court for Biddy basketball, the same kids you see in tackle football, same kids you see in the baseball field. Up to now, I think all kids are still trying everything.
Are they?
But I think at this next level is when you start getting some people that start, like, let's face it, I was a 3-sport athlete. I was a jack of all trades, master of none. And like, if I had to go back and do it again, I played basketball, but I'm not sure I would have, because I was behind when I went to college and played baseball. So like, and there's dudes out there that are just putting in the time that get you by. And unless you're one of those 1% kids that have that elite talent, you got the elite arm talent, elite speed, or you're a giant. Like my son Connor's 6'4", he's a giant. 6'5", he's playing. I mean, if you have those measurables, you can play all 3 sports and you're going to get somewhere. But if you don't have that elite, if you're like, Joe average high school and you want to, in your heart and soul is into playing some sport or whatever it is you want to be great at, I don't care if it's band or I don't care if it's whatever, you have to invest some time in it. And otherwise, there's no secret to Richmond's success. The cheerleaders practice more than anybody. The wrestlers practice more than anybody. They put in a bunch of time. And in order to be elite, when Marysville was good in football, they had a war wagon over there. Marine City, look at Marine City. Their football is lifting. They get 60 kids to show up in the morning to lift. I mean, there's no secret to success or making kids successful. It's putting in the work. And I just think youth sports, I think some of these parents at the younger levels really don't put it in proper perspective. I remember one time, this is just a story, I was doing pitching machine and I was at a tournament and some dude from a local small town around here wants to fight me. He literally wanted to fight me because I told him to stop arguing with the 13-year-old umpire. Like, seriously, bro, just stop arguing.
Was it Fred?
No, it wasn't.
Fred?
No, because Scott would have said, go attack. And I would have.
No, it was crazy. But like parents just get carried away with it, I think, to your point. And I think a lot of parents, don't understand that it's not about them, it's about the kids. I mean, you want to push your kids, but there's got to be some middle road for parents to take to understand that, you got to push them a little bit, but you also got to love them and you got to let them breathe. And
Scott, is that your biggest challenge? Probably is the parents.
Well, we're running into a problem right now where in my opinion, there's a lot of aptitude. There's a lot. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a lot of people, the kids that aren't dreaming anymore. Kids don't want to put in the work to be great. There's no secret to anybody's success. So who's great around here? It's the people that work the hardest.
Yeah.
Well, Marine City isn't loaded with I love you, Fred, and I love Ronnie. I love Darren. I love everybody.
We know what you're going to say, and we agree.
They don't have tons of talent, but they just win.
That's
because
right.
they outwork everybody.
Dedication.
Right. I mean, like 6:30 in the morning, they're in there working in the weight room. Like they have 60 kids. They don't have to go hunt for kids. They have a culture that sustains itself. I think there's a few other programs in our area that has that, that gets that culture where it's expected from the kids that they put in the time. But like, I just think of Marine City. I think of, the success of the wrestling program here in our town, the cheer program in our town. But a lot of parents and a lot of kids, they don't want to put in the time needed. They want to be great, but they don't want to put the time in. That's what really what I see is you sit.
Well, you get a lot of, all you're doing is getting a lot of parents that are blowing steam or blowing smoke up their kids' rear end, saying how awesome they are.
Well,
and then they go play AAU and they got, and they're playing for that team, and then they come back and play high school and they don't perform as well, and then they're sitting the bench and they can't understand why, and then the parents start getting involved. If I'll tell you right now, in our time, if you weren't playing, there was a reason, and obviously those people knew what the reason was. Is just you weren't putting the time in.
Well, no coach coaches to lose. They try to put the best team out there to try to win to win games. Period. No matter what they're coaching. And sadly, there's one person.
Did you see Matt Patricia's Lions?
Right. But in high school sports, I really think like parents shouldn't be calling coaches. Players should be calling coaches. They got to create that responsibilities on them. Like I've never called one of Connor's coaches ever. Like that's just not my deal. Like if you have a problem with a coach, then you handle it with the coach. Exactly. And that's how my dad handled me. And I just think that's a lost art nowadays. Every month, it seems like a lot of parents want to get involved, and it isn't fair. In baseball, we struggle because there's 36,000 fed baseball teams now. If you don't like the coach, you go start your own fed team, and then you come back to your high school team, and everyone thinks they're the shortstop, and they're not the shortstop. They're not going to play shortstop. They're a shortstop on a fed ball C league team, and they're just not elite. And when you have that difficult discussion, they have honest feedback with your kids. Sometimes they can't handle honest feedback. That's another thing that we struggle with at the high school level.
In that one documentary about the Mannings, they showed one of the youth football coaches for either Eli or Peyton, and he was saying that, hey, I took this kid on the team. Archie Manning was going to be at our games and our practices. I was a little bit intimidated because I had a feeling that he knew more about football than I did. This was just a random youth coach. Right. And he said somewhere after about the second game and things weren't going right, he actually had to go to Archie Manning and say, hey, can you help me out? Because Archie didn't feel it was his place to, get involved with that. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, what a great guy. You are Archie Manning, but you stay away because it's not your place in your time.
Well, it's respect. Obviously, it has respect. That's what a lot of people lack. And I think kids these days, it's all about instant gratification. So if you can't do something quickly and be good at it, they just give up.
They don't want to invest in the process. Like the process is part of being successful. We all know this as adults. To be successful in whatever our acts, we have to work every day to be successful. And these kids,
Scott, how do you reach a young athlete like that that has some ability, it doesn't want to put in the work, and you're going to walk him through the process? How does that work?
If I had the secret recipe, I'd be a lot better. I'm getting older. I think when I was younger, I identified a whole lot better with my kids. Like when I was a young coach, you just identify with them better. And as I get older, I've had to change and morph and become a different coach, and try to become more of a motivator, try to become more of a, less of a, I've just become a better communicator. I don't think I'm great at it still. I mean, today I can tell you this: I love my kids and tell them I love them a whole lot more than I ever done in my career. I communicate with them, texting them, and I try to encourage them that way, and because it's all about building your relationships. When I first started in in the early 2000s, 99, I wasn't friends with any of my kids. I had one tool in my toolbox. It was a hammer. You were doing it my way, and that's how it was. And the kids responded at Clintondale, and they were some tough as nails kids. And they're some of my tightest friends now as I'm older. But in today's day and age, you can't coach like that. You can't coach with a hammer anymore. You have to be firm. You have to be fair. You have to be really clear. And then after you're done giving them critiques, you have to text them. You have to make sure that they understand that it's all because I love you and I want you to be better and I want you to reach your potential. And if you can't create those relationships, it just doesn't work. Everybody, we've all played sports. The teams that are good teams, like Freddie's team, his senior year, they beat us in the district final. They were just a better team than we were at that time. I don't think they were more talent. I know Freddie's going to argue about this. I don't think that they were more talented than us. They just played better as a team, and they bought into their team concept, and they beat us in the district final. Looking back on it, I mean, we had what, 5? We had 8 college basketball players, 3 Division I's, a couple Division II's. I mean, we were loaded. But trying to motivate today's youth, man, trying to identify them and get them to believe, I think it's just it gets harder and harder, and you got to surround yourself with young staff.
Guys, he said something that we've talked about on the show that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh has done recently too, is go to younger coaches that can relate to the kids a little bit more and make sure that they feel comfortable. Obviously you hear just pro coaches and big time college coaches say exactly what you just said, Scott. It's a different game. Nick Saban just said it recently in a press conference. I got to show my players more that I care. He said that.
I just saw an in-depth art interview about Harbaugh, how he transformed his staff to identify with his young kids. It's kind of neat. It's the game changes, and we have to evolve with them. I mean,
no kidding. I mean, with that staff that he had too, I mean, to me, it was kind of like the Progressive commercial. He was turning, and they were all he was turning into his older staff. And then all of a sudden he brought all these young people in, and it's kind of energized him back, and brought him back to, to reality with these kids, and these kids kind of bought in. Cause I mean, he was a lost soul, a couple years back. I mean, you just looked at him. He just didn't look like he didn't know what to do. I mean, he just looked lost. He doesn't look like that anymore. He looks like he did when he first came in and took over the job. Now
you look at their sideline, Freddie. You look at all their coaches. They're in their 20s. Those guys are. There's no old linemen walking the sideway. Coaches that look like they are 30 years of.
Mike Hart's got to be about 30 though, right?
Right, but he doesn't look like he's like ancient. Like when we grew up looking at Bo's staff, they were all older guys.
Yeah,
there wasn't a bunch of young guys there.
Right, but the other thing is in back in our day, guys, I mean, I'd be out in my driveway, and I'd shovel the snow out away from my basketball hoop, and I'd have 14 basketballs in my, in my back.
Chuck shoveled the snow.
I shoveled the snow, and I'd shoot until my fingers bled. I mean, and Scott's another guy that, everybody else would be just getting ready to leave, and he'd pick about 4 or 5 baseballs, and he'd do soft toss to himself and hit into a screen. And he did that before games, and he did it after games.
Freddie's basketball hoop in his yard, the driveway sloped just a little bit. So if you're on this perimeter shot, you had to know that down angle. And if you're on that perimeter shot, you had to know. And he knew it very well because he would be out there practicing.
Freddie, that was Billy Patton's driveway too. Same thing.
Yeah, Billy Patton. I just talked to Billy the other day. Scott worked very hard, and he was the MAC newcomer at Eastern Michigan, his first year at Eastern Michigan playing baseball. He didn't do that. He didn't do that because he kissed people's asses. He did because he outworked everybody. So, I mean, those are the type of things you don't see. You get some of those kids, you get on a rare occasion, you get the Brendan Kays and the Fletchers.
He's the 1%, Freddie. He had unbelievable, like Timmy McConnell's arm talent. Like he just had dudes that can throw 90 do not grow on trees. Like those are those outliers that we all wish we could be, but shit, Timmy could hit in his sleep.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But Brendan Kay was just a phenomenal guy.
Yeah, and somebody like Timmy who, I mean, it didn't matter what kind of ball you threw up at him
Right.
from wherever he was going to hit it. So
Well, Brandon Kay, we've mentioned him on the show before a couple times, and the beauty of him is he had all the skill sets, right? The talent. We've talked to his coach. He had the mindset, a maturity level that some kids just don't have at that age, even if they have that skill set. Then he had that magic factor, right? He's going to come in off the sideline, never played the whole game. They were working him out on the bench to come in to throw a couple passes to win the game. That's that magic factor. I mean, that's a special.
they did that against
athlete.
Warren Fitzgerald.
That's a special type of athlete. We tried to get his coach to open up more about like what great kind of individual that person was outside of what we know him as on the football field or the baseball diamond, because we knew he was special. And I really thought coach at that time didn't really open up enough, and we wanted some more of the personal side, like what kind of leader is that in the classroom, on the hallways, and we wanted to hear some of those stories, because those are the kind of in-depth, like we talk about Heaslip, the quarterback from Heaslip, whatever. It was Heaslip when we were in school. I don't know how it got changed or whatever, but we despite what he's been able to do on the football field, the fact that he was there for 3 years, kept that maturity level, kept his head on his shoulders, and kept all that pressure on his shoulders, be able to perform game in, game out for 3 years. That's something special that I don't think sometimes we look at our youth athletes enough for what they are able to accomplish like that.
So I'm one of those geeky coaches who watches every podcast, reads every book, and tries to find out what are the outliers that makes kids successful. And the number one thing that always comes down to is they have to be intrinsically motivated. Our greatest athletes in our area they want to be great. They wake up in the morning wanting to be great. Whether you're talking about him, whether you're talking about Devin Skatska, whether you're talking about our greatest players in our area, were self-motivated to be great and combine that with talent. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are true blue, work their butt off. They're only going to go so far. But when you combine someone who's intrinsically motivated, and then you add in talent, like the guy that's playing for the Padres, and I apologize, everyone from St. Clair.
Jake Cronenworth.
Yeah, like Jake, he drove to Michigan once or twice a week to hit with a hitting coach. And had the means to go get some extra training. Like those are things that's why they become so special, is because they want to be great. And when I talk to my kids, we try to motivate them. We try to get, light comes on from a different size, but those kids that wake up early and the light comes on early and they want to be great, man, it is truly special to see them work their butt off and become.
That's a great story, because you got to figure Jake grew up a big fish in a small pond where he was already great in his little inner circle, but he knew that he wasn't great. And he drove himself all the way to Ann Arbor to make him even better.
Yeah, his parents or his the story's pretty good that they put a lot of time and his hitting coach is a pretty well-known guy in our area. I've known him for a long time. But he is it's a great story. He's a great guy, man. Like the other thing that I love about most of every kid, all the kids we're talking about here, like they're great kids. Like Devin Skatska, Cronenworth, like Brendan Kay. After games, they weren't arrogant, they weren't cocky, they were just the nicest people. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean they just are. They work their butts off, but they're also great people.
So Scott, let's talk a little bit more about you. Why don't you give us a little bit of background of what, like obviously your high school time, and then obviously what you did in college, and then some of your coaching experiences that you've had that stands out in your mind.
So I graduated from Richmond in '86. I went to Macomb for 2 years, played a couple years there, and then I had a really great couple summers there. And I set the hitting record there. I thought I was going gangbusters. I thought someone would offer me money. Nobody offered me money. I walked on to Eastern. Eastern said, you're a preferred walk-on. We're not giving you any money. Just so happens when Freddie and I used to play against them, Freddie and I played for the weakest group of guys, our community college team, but we would always beat Michigan. We would always beat At that time, Michigan had a summer team, Eastern had a summer team. Everybody had summer teams, and we did really well. Went to Eastern, had a great fall. Earned a scholarship there, a half scholarship at that time. That's basically a full scholarship. Played for a couple more years, and then grad assistant. Then I came back and coached a junior college with Lenny Perkins. We took our team to the Junior College World Championship in Grand Junction, and then I started my coaching career at Clintondale. I was at Clintondale coaching football and basketball, football and baseball for the first 15 years. At that time, I was single. I was thoroughly invested in coaching. I'd be there early in the morning, leave late at night. Then I got married, and you know, at one point I was a pretty bad husband, a pretty bad father. I wasn't around enough because when you coached football back in my day, you had to be at the freshman game, the JV game, and the varsity game. So I would kiss my wife and my kids goodnight Tuesday night, and I wouldn't see them again. I would not see my son until Saturday morning when he would wake up, because I'd be gone every night for football. So I had to make some decisions. I decided to become a dad, and a better dad and a better husband. So I resigned at Clintondale, coaching football and baseball. As luck turned out, the baseball job opened up here the same year I resigned. Anthony Blank resigned, and I took over at Richmond in 2012, and I've been coaching at Richmond baseball since 2012. I recently started coaching middle school football and JV football last year here at Richmond, trying to put my football helmet back on. But just been coaching my whole life. It's my passion. It's my love. I keep trying to learn. I'm not saying I'm there yet. I just love working with kids. I love trying to give them a positive experience. We had our alumni get together last night, and a lot of stories were told about experiences for Rich. There was older alumni and young alumni, the kids from 2012, and we were talking about our one game. We came back. We went to the finals 2 years in a row. 13 and 14 came in second. We were in the semis 2 years ago, and last year we won our region and lost in what's called the super regional right now to a good team out of Flint, a Catholic school team. So I mean, overall, it's been a great experience. Coming home has really changed. At Clintondale as a 500 level coach, now my win totals is a lot different because I'm in a better community where baseball is important. It's nice. Coming home is nice, good and bad, because when you come home and you're the former player, you know, when you're not coaching here, people have a lot more respect for you than when you become the coach and you got to make choices. People get awful angry at you here in small towns, and they judge you just because some dudes have played. Freddie, I lost you.
I'm here.
Okay, well, I lost the screen. I don't know what happened. Sometimes they judge you in a manner that just because I'm trying to make decisions for the program, you know, and sometimes it makes for some quiet nights, but there's nothing else I would rather do. I love coaching baseball. I love coaching football.
They judge you like and pipe high and all the right moves.
I was talking to Ronnie about it when Marine City first started turning their program. Like I love the history of Blue Water area sports, so I always talk to everybody, whether it's Dick Hilliker or anybody. And right. I was asking Ronnie about how the culture got established, and was there ever a time where parents question you? He says, "Oh yeah, when Bob was here and we first started out, there's a lot of questioning that went on with the decisions they made." He said, "But year after year, we kept winning and kept winning and kept doing well. It basically is gone." I mean, there's still some of that going on, but very little. Yeah. It really doesn't make its way into any meetings because they just continue to win.
Yeah, the biggest beef that they had was during hunting season.
Right.
You know, we're practicing. You can hunt when after practice.
You can hunt the rest of your life when you're no longer playing football.
Exactly.
That was basically the message.
No, the other thing too,
60 years of hunting, maybe, if you're
right. You can.
The other thing too is I've had the pleasure of Scott and I and Tim all playing softball together, and we played up in a tournament up in Saginaw, and we got kind of hosed out of the tournament, and we had to fight our way through the losers bracket, and we were one win away from the finals, and we ended up losing. But Scott I think he batted 586 for the whole weekend. I mean,
It was crazy.
They couldn't get him out.
I was 26 for 26
Wow.
at one point in time.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was.
I think he finished 26 out of 31 or something crazy like that.
It was nuts because it was, when they ever talk to you about athletes being in the zone, that's the only thing I can relate it to. Like, it was just, the ball looked this big and I squared everything up. And it was just one of those days that, I just wish my kids would have been around to see me play, because
It's softball though, Scott. The ball is that big.
Well, it looked like a volleyball.
It looked like a beach ball.
You just
Let's put it this way: it
wasn't
came in
slow
looking
pitch,
like
it
a
was
beach
modified.
ball, and it left.
Oh
like a
yeah,
golf ball.
modified.
Yeah, and it's not. We're not talking slow pitch. We're talking modified. So it
Yeah.
wasn't. It's still. It's still.
It's not the big grapefruit.
Right. It hasn't been done much.
Yeah, let's just put it this way: what he saw was a beach ball, but when he hit it, it left like a golf ball.
It was a really good weekend for us. I just wish, and if you remember, Freddie, it's because one of your alumni showed up late for the first game. We got a loss in the first game because someone from Marine City, I'm not going to mention any names, our shortstop, couldn't find the field.
Yeah. Let's see.
We usually just mention who it is.
Yeah.
I'm not
It was Steve Wesley. I don't care. I don't care.
I'm coaching his kid right now. I can't say that.
Well, you didn't. Fred did. So.
Yeah.
Thank God nobody listens to the shows.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
He'll never.
Definitely not his
never
dad.
get back to him.
Yeah.
He'll never
Yeah, and
do it.
unfortunately, he wasn't driving. He was with two guys from St. Clair who never knew how to win. So that kind of.
Or how to drive, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know I'm going to change the subject. I apologize, but Freddie, you guys, for as long as we've lived in the Blue Water area, do you think basketball will ever get to the point, Freddie, like our senior year, where every gymnasium was sold out? You had to buy tickets in advance. You had the Zulofs up at Port Huron.
No.
You had you guys. You had
No.
Glasner at St. Clair. We had the Whitemans with us. Even K-Pac had their guy. I can't remember his name.
Joe
Freddie. Joe Leonard. New Haven had Sonny Randall and someone.
Kincaid.
Yeah. It was crazy. Every place.
Rodney was there for his sophomore year.
Yeah, but I just remember Rodney being at St. Clair with Zula with Likens.
With Likens and Bowman.
Yeah.
Have you seen that kid out of Fort Gratiot play though? I saw him as an 8th grader.
Taylor
playing at Northern.
Tyler Jameson.
Yeah. Have you seen that kid?
Good people.
Kid, I mean, that kid's like a man amongst boys.
Sign a letter of intent to Farley Dickinson.
I heard that his brothers, the younger brother's a really good hooper too. Logan plays with him on his Fed. Well, he used to play with him with the Jetbox with JD Hill. He's a really nice kid.
Well, it's amazing. You see, I mean, that family's produced some good ball players and good kids too. So I mean but yeah, Scott, you're never going to see that. Matter of fact, I could probably pick 5 guys from our era, and we could go play the best team in the area, and we'd beat them by 25.
But like, what made it that way, Freddie? Like, that's the
3-point line and AAU. Those are the two things that have completely fucked up high school sports in general. Is AAU. It's just. Hey, I don't need to play high school. I can go play AAU because that's where I'm going to get noticed because I play for a high school that might finish 500. And the only way I'm going to ever get seen ever is if we win a district.
Kind of makes sense, doesn't it, Scott?
But think about the athletes, Freddie, that went on to play college sports that were basketball players from our era. I mean, there's a ton of kids that went on. Like, what made Joe Leonard, Zulofs, Whitemans, Patton, Bebuck, Amiel, Allen. I mean, you could, Randy. I mean, you could name that.
You can even throw my name in there too because I played. I mean, Jesus, I had to walk on. They said, well, we might get. I ended up starting. So, the thing is it's because back then everybody it was a competition and you hated not being involved in it.
Right.
I mean, there's people that I mean, think about this. My senior year, I had a 6'10" guy on my team. He couldn't dunk. And I mean, and the thing is,
who was that?
Todd Davis. But the thing is he went on to play football at Michigan Tech, and I think he played a year or two in the CFL, or at least he played, I think, at least 1 year there. And you know, and I'll tell you what, talking about a great guy, he just couldn't jump. But I mean, my junior year though, I
You
mean,
had Endress and Allen is who your guys were, your big guys.
well,
Endress and Allen
our starting five was 5'10", 5'11", 6'3", 6'5", 6'5".
Right.
You're not going to see that around the area ever again.
I remember Allen and Endress, bro. Those were massive games against Whiteman's at 6'10" and 6'6", and Pankwitz at 6'4".
Oh yeah,
It was crazy.
it's just you're just not going to see that anymore. And of course, you know, going up and playing, you know, going to play up at Croslex and that bandbox of a stadium, you know, and
But their
you know,
basketball team's gotten a lot better, Freddie. They've got it going on up there with basketball right now.
oh yeah, well, no, just sports in general. I mean,
Back in the day, they weren't good at basketball. Back in the day, they were behind us.
Well, you know, yeah, they were probably third or fourth best, but I mean, we had the football coach on from Croslex, and
He's
had
a character. Let me tell
oh
you.
yeah, he's a character. But you know, the thing is he's brought a culture there. It's about the powerlifting and getting the kids to buy in on that, because they weren't doing that.
The head football coach was here.
He was on the show.
I had him on the show. Yep.
Yeah.
Was
Was it just as the season started or just right before?
yeah, it was just before the season started. We had Darren Lutz and him, and we were supposed to have
the
Warrior and High and Northerns, but they ended up backing out at the last minute because they had some scheduled conflicts. But you know, just you know, you go and watch a high school basketball game now. I mean, it's, you know, Marysville got beat the other night. The final score was like 38-8. The varsity scored 8 points.
8?
8.
Well, I think back in our day, basketball in general is more popular, right? I mean, pro basketball was super popular. We all watched it. I can't remember the last time I watched an NBA game. You couldn't pay me to watch one. I mean,
no.
Well, Scott, no matter what they tell you, you know, there's a reason why the NBA championships are on like TNT. The ratings for the NBA is just horrible. No matter how they try to shove it down our throats. People just don't want to watch the NBA like they used to.
Right.
So like,
college different.
We talk about that one sport kind of thing. Like the teams that are winning in basketball, man, a lot of those kids are playing like those kids from Port Huron High, man. A lot of those guys are elite summer league AAU travel guys. You know, and the everyday dude that just playing basketball on the weekends isn't going to win a lot of those games.
Right?
No.
I mean, unless you're putting in a boatload of time. I don't know.
No, I mean, I remember during basketball season, you know, with the guys, we'd get up Saturday morning and go, and after we played Friday night, and we'd all meet at the high school to play pickup ball against, you know, the older guys, you know, you know, just and we'd play everywhere we could possibly play. I mean, it's nice when you have Eric Gunderson and Randy Jones and myself and Brian and Dale Volker and Darren Brooks and
Freddie,
maybe
why did the kid from Fort Gratiot not get more looks from bigger schools? Is it a white kid playing in the Blue Water area basketball? Is that
I think it's the talent that he's played. I don't think he's been I think he's I'm surprised that he picked Farley Dickinson. I thought he would get some offer. I thought he'd get an offer from Izzo, or you know, one of the schools like that. But you know, he's probably looking for a school that, because he's very, very intelligent. He's probably looking for a school that has a certain program that he wants, but he wants to go somewhere and he wants to play. He doesn't want to ride the bench, because you know, there's a lot of kids that came out of our area that were really good in whatever sport it is, and then they've never seen the field.
I'm surprised he didn't be able to get a look like at a Bowling Green or a Mac school or something like that.
I was kind of surprised somebody like Eastern or Western, but again, maybe he did, and it just didn't appeal to him. He didn't want to. Maybe he wanted to go somewhere out of state, or wanted to go somewhere where, again, you know, there's a program that that he wants to go into that school has. I mean, I'll tell you, there's something about the Jameson boys. I'll just tell you this. They take the student before the athlete very serious.
That's good.
Yeah. And the two boys that are our age, Scotty, are two great guys. They're great dads, and their dad, Gordy, is a gem. I would run through a brick wall for that guy. He did a lot. He did a lot for me when I was working in the Port Huron area school district.
Scott, we talk about this a lot more in high school football on this show about why do some of the great talent that comes out of this area in football not get bigger looks at bigger schools? It's not, and we're not just talking about Marine City, we're talking about other schools. I mean, there's been a couple, but I mean, for the most part, do the schools not promote these kids to these schools? Do they not have the resources to do that?
It's all measurables, man. Like you just have to consider where you're playing and who you're playing against. I mean, you can look no more than Marine City. I mean, look at how many championships they won. Look how many games they've won. Look how many teams they beat, more talented teams, but they just don't have great measurables.
Go deeper. What do you mean measurable? Someone listening doesn't understand, like me. I don't exactly.
So just because
name
name some great running back that from Marine City that scored great numbers.
Tiger.
But he doesn't have Tiger. Okay, you use him. He may not have the greatest measurables. Like, he's not going to get any faster. He's not going to get any like, these guys are all about measurables. Like when Connor went for his recruiting thing, they did all that. They measured everything and how much weight he could carry and all those things. And it's truly about size, speed, and power and what they feel your body can take. If you have somebody like me, I was 5'11" in 8th grade, never grew another inch. So whatever I maxed out at.
Yeah, but you ran like a deer though.
Right, but I was still only 5'11". Like, look at McGregor. He could jump out of a box. He could jump out of a barn. He's fast. He's quick, and he literally has all the measurables. And when difficult for high school, like most coaches know, like you do the best you can, but sadly, when you. At Clintondale, we'd get kids that would make our basketball team, and then they think they're really great. They go down to the Pershing or they go down to Detroit, and they'd be the 8th or 9th man off the bench because there's such elite talent down there. And size matters, and speed matters, and freak things that they do matter. And if you don't have, like, if you're not 6'4", 6'5", and you're going to be and just gigantic measurables, you're not going to go on and play. There's just, I mean, you could go to Division III, but you're not going to go Division I or Division II unless you have elite talent.
Who's the guy who took over for Wes Welker in that position with the
Julian Edelman?
Edelman. So I just watched his story the other night. Amazing story, because exactly what you're talking about, Scott. Nobody wanted him. He was 5'7", 5'8" on his best day, 165, 170 pounds. Nobody. This is out of high school. Nobody wanted to touch him. And he goes to a JUCO, a junior college. Then he transfers out to another school. Then he gets picked up. So he goes to camp where
he went to Kent State, didn't he?
He finally transferred to Kent State and did well. But again, the NFL didn't even invite him, and he had to work his way to the combine. At the combine, he had some phenomenal numbers. And that's what caught the eye out of only one team, because his agent called every team and they all said no. But the only one coach that wanted him.
Most guys would have gave it up. Most people don't chase that dream like that.
That's what he said. He said.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Rob, because we talked about this in a past show too. Brendan Kay wasn't even invited to the combine in Indianapolis, and he was the starting quarterback at Cincinnati. So at his pro day, he had to do his all the stuff that they did at the combine, and there was only one quarterback that had better numbers than him and everything, and it was Johnny Manziel, and he still didn't get drafted. He signed as a free agent, and then got bent over by Pittsburgh. But the thing is again, you see a kid that had that kind of elite talent, and then each level you go up, he has the measurables, but the thing is now the measurables goes, okay, well, he's had 3 knee surgeries. So,
Okay, Scott, I'll go back to you. Are we putting too much emphasis on measurables?
Well, the new trend in baseball is they're getting away from measurables. The only measure in baseball, well, I just was at a couple of different recruiting things for colleges. A couple dudes it's still all about school. A couple of our in-state schools, man, you got to be good academically. They won't look at you unless you're good academically because they don't want to deal with any type of stuff like that. But then, they used to look for a velo off a tee to be somewhere between 95 and 100.
What's a velo? What's that?
Exit velocity. They put a radar gun behind the pitcher's screen, you're hitting it off a tee, and that's kind of you get an idea of what kind of hip turn and power comes off the bat.
Yeah.
There's a couple different Rapsodo. There's a couple different ones that are a little bit more legit, but they used to use that. I mean, they still kind of do use it as a measurable.
So if I hit off a tee, I'd hit a Verlo or whatever you said at 6, and Cronenworth would hit 285 or something like that.
Generally they think it's like MLB dudes are normally near 100 or over 100. Like most of your Division I, Michigan State, their big swingers are hitting over 100 off the tee. But now they're not doing it as much. They're using it as information, but then they want to see the eye test. And speed matters at the next level. Like Oakland's only looking for dudes that are running sub 6'8", 60s. They're not looking for anybody that's a pylon that's going to go station to station. And like
6'8", 60. What does that break down to a 40? What would you have to run in a 40? Well,
6'8", that's 60 feet.
4'9", yeah, 60 feet. So I think it'd be like
a 4'9" and
like 4'7", something like that.
Yeah.
And then like
fast guys. Those are fast guys.
Like for us, when Freddie and I played, dude, if like Jeff Bohm threw 90, he got a Division I offer because he could throw 90. Now 90 is not even a number they like.
They don't even care.
Yeah, like I had a lefty last year, Bennett, who threw 87. I sent his video out to every Big Ten school in the entire Midwest, and I only got 2 replies. And in my day, like Dan Petrie's kid, he threw 83 20 years ago at camp that I was coaching at. And he got signed. He got offers from every Big Ten school. Like it's just
who were the Big Ten schools that came back? Can you say?
Yeah, Northwestern did, and Ball State. Rich Malowitz is not Malowitz. Maloney.
Maloney.
To a math school and a Big Ten school.
Yeah.
Testicle Tech.
Yeah, but he ended up going to Wayne State. He ended up getting money from Wayne State to go there to pitch. But like they just look at the mechanics and they can figure out what their max velo, what their max velocity is going to be, and then they decide if they're going to sign him or not. It's crazy.
Mike, you're quiet tonight. What's going on?
But you
taking it all in.
I'll tell you, well, you got to think of this too. Baseball and hockey are the 2 sports where height isn't really a measurable. It's heart, speed, and what kind of arm strength you have. Because
I even think in hockey now, like defensemen, they want you over 6'2".
Right, they want that reach.
They want that reach.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm not talking about defensemen. I mean, we're talking about like people like Marchant and DeBrincat.
Yeah, but
people like those and the Coalfields of the world. I mean, they're under 5'10".
But that's a long time ago.
But they're fast and they can handle the puck, right? That's what they want. They want fast because the game's no longer a tough game like we grew up with. It's a fast game. It's a skills game. It's no longer meat and potatoes.
Because I'll be honest with you, if Wayne Gretzky played with the goalies that we have now, he wouldn't have the numbers that he has.
I don't know enough about it to comment on that.
Yeah, but
he is the great one, by the way.
Well, he is. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be he wouldn't be good, but I'm just saying.
That's a good topic though. There's people because people from Detroit will say, no, he wasn't the great one. There was someone else who was greater than him because they had a more all-around game than he did. But it's like the Jordan Magic or Jordan
LeBron. The other guy that I refuse to mention his name.
Fred's favorite, LeBron.
It's no subject, but I mean, it's really, like it's more indicative of your region where you grew up, who you feel the great one is. Like I know people in Detroit will never call Gretzky the great one.
Right. Well, because those are hockey elitists that are born and bred.
They think someone else was the great one.
Right.
Well, if you ask me, if if basketball wise, if I'm going to draft somebody first ever, I'm taking Larry Bird over everybody.
And I was
So
just watching some podcasts, and people talking about him.
I'll take
Fred. He's
Stephon
awesome.
Murray.
I know. I mean, I'll take Larry Bird over Michael Jordan. I'll take Larry Bird over Magic Johnson. And the thing is it's because he made other people better.
Well, so did
Those-
Magic.
So did Magic.
Yeah, well, Magic did. Yeah, I get that, but again, Larry Bird was playing with typically with a bunch of white guys. But I mean, you know, and that was kind of the weird thing. You see the Lakers versus them. I mean, you're seeing speed versus, you know, cast-offs and people that, I mean, there's guys that didn't place at some places and became all-stars and that have been Hall of Famers coming out of the Boston Celtics because I think Larry Bird taught them how to play their game the right way. And so, I mean, that's just my I mean, but of course, you know, you're gonna have people from Chicago. So obviously going to say Jordan. You're gonna have people say LeBron. You're gonna have people say Kobe. But I mean, but the thing is you're going to see a bunch of. That's what's fun about you know, the opinions of others.
Bird and Jordan in the same, because in the same era. I just think you have a tough time comparing modern athletes to what was, because the games are so drastically different. I don't care if it's baseball, I don't care if it's hockey, I don't care if it's basketball. There's no defense in the NBA. No one's.
Could you imagine how many points Larry Bird and Magic Johnson would put up day in and day out?
Fred has made a statement on the show once that baseball back in like the Babe Ruth era was so bad that he would have been back there dominating.
I didn't say dominate. I said I could have probably played.
That was just grittiness back then.
Yeah.
So, but do the measurements or the measurables or the metrics lie? I mean, you have to be bigger, stronger, faster because the game is faster and people are stronger. I mean, is it a bad thing to use those kinds of scientific measures? I mean, it's a good predictor of how good the athlete's going to be, isn't it?
I think part of it's part, like they're all saying now they want to see the measurables, but then they want to see the athlete. Like in baseball, they want to see what he's like in the dugout. They want to see what he's like when he has failure. They want to see him. Like he has to pass the eye test now.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes, you know, maybe 5 years ago, they would just go by whatever you say, or, you know, they'd go by the measurables. Hey,
Scott, how about a guy like a Mike Hart? Remember Mike Hart from Michigan? I mean, that guy, I'm sure his lower body strength was good, but he wasn't that fast. He wasn't big at all. I mean, as far as height wise, but he became one of the most prolific Big Ten backs in history at Michigan.
Well, I really don't know. I don't have a good answer on that, other than, you know, when I was fortunate enough to work with Jimmy Scarcelli, who was nice enough to give me a job at Clintondale, and through his experience and his connections at Michigan, we got to go there a lot. We got to go there, watch them train, meet with their people, watch their practices. So like the amount of expert coaching, like the technical shit that's going on in the weight rooms for skill development, like for strength and specialization, like they're just ahead of other. I mean, they get the best, smartest people in there. And you know, shit, I bet I could have been a 4.3 runner if I would have went there with the technology that they got there. And I would say that has a lot to do with it. You surround yourself with a bunch of talent, and then you get pushed by everybody, and you either get strong, like Jimmy said, you either get strong or you die out. Like if you're not going to toughen up and get better, then there's 8 other dudes right behind you that are going to want your job.
Well, that's why I think that, you know, Michigan has lost quite a few players to the transfer portal, but it's because other guys are stepping up and they're not playing, so they're going somewhere else to play. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. To me, it's a sign that team's getting better. You know, people can't compete.
I agree.
Is Schoonmaker better than the other dude that's leaving that got hurt?
Eric All?
Yeah, clearly they think that Schoonmaker's better than All.
Well, I think
might be better.
They wouldn't.
Michigan's
medical staff would not clear him.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's one of the reasons.
But I thought, well, I know it's just hearsay, but I thought they didn't clear him because they didn't want to have competition. They were giving the job to Schoonmaker and didn't want to hurt his feelings. Didn't think he could handle it. I don't know if that's true.
I disagree. I don't think so.
Heard that here first on the Idiot Circle.
Because I will tell you right now.
Breaking news.
Loveland's better than all of them.
Well, because he's pissed off. That's why he left, because they wouldn't clear him to go play. He says he's ready to play, and they wouldn't clear him. That's why, I just tried to connect the dots.
I think that and his roommate McNamara decided to leave too. So
and go to the same school.
Yeah, coincidence.
Yeah,
I think
when
not.
you see what is left Michigan, though, it's I haven't looked at it once and wow, Michigan's losing this guy. It's people that maybe have not fit into the system right. Maybe they're great athletes, big stars, but they're just not fitting in the system, and they haven't been able to translate their talent on the field to stay there.
Well, Michigan, the coaching staff's doing something right at Michigan, because they don't get the 5 stars that Ohio State does, but past 2 years they've cleaned their clock. I mean, it's
going to be interesting, right? Nobody's recruited better right now than Ohio State and Georgia, and I want to see what that looks like, because I always say this, Scott. You can get all the 5-star athletes you want, but if you can't transition them to talent and wins on the field, it means nothing.
A play as a team is the most important.
If they don't become elite to the NFL and become a pipeline, then they won't stay there. But the portal is going to change everything, guys. The portal is in high school baseball. No one's recruiting anymore because they're all going to the portal.
How's it going to affect Central Michigan?
What? Central Michigan doesn't recruit anyone from Michigan. They only go. They're only recruiting dudes from out of state now.
Do you think the portal will hurt them or help them?
Well, it depends what you think. Some guys think that.
Scott, it's a joke.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because this is how.
I'm speaking baseball wise.
Yeah, baseball wise. I mean, what the heck was that?
Wasn't me.
Okay. The baseball I think is recruited a lot differently than football. And it's just a different mindset. And the thing is you only have 9 guys on the field. And it's not like, okay, we're going to have 9 guys on offense and 9 guys on defense. You got to be elite to play defense and offense and be offensively talented as well at the college level when it comes to baseball. Okay. The other thing is too, is, when it comes for their measurables to go to the next level, they know that these guys can hit with an aluminum bat, but are they going to get the same jump off of a wood bat as they would aluminum? And I know that's one of the measurables where they go to these combines and they take the aluminum bats out of there, and they use the wood bats.
Freddie, the BBCOR bat it just has a smaller sweet spot. The exit velocities aren't that much different.
Really?
Like the BBCOR bat is dead. Like it doesn't go anywhere. There's a slight, they've done all these tests on it. You find that it's just the miss hits on a wooden bat, you're done, you're out. When you miss hit aluminum bat, you still got a chance to put the ball in play.
Forgiveness in the aluminum bat.
Right. In the wooden bat, your shit's broke and it's not going anywhere. The exit velocities are down a ton. But the bats, they have to measure us within the BBCOR with the -3 is supposed to mimic a wooden bat in its sweet spot. So it's just that's why I love this launch angle shit. And I love it when I hear people teaching their kids to do the launch angle shit, because I love catching fly balls because it's the easiest thing to do. But the BBCOR bat has changed the game. They're not hot bats. So it's just nuts.
Is BBCOR, so a novice like me, what you just said, BBCOR bat, is that an aluminum bat that collegiate level athletes have to play with?
Correct. So when you're playing, growing up and playing fed ball, you play a USSSA bat. It is they call them hot bats because they fly off that bat like there's no tomorrow. Like a kid that's in 8th grade can hit the ball as far as some high schoolers because he's got this hot bat. You throw a BBCOR bat in his hand and it changed 50 to 60 feet. He's not hitting the ball. It just doesn't fly like a normal kid, like a normal hot bat. And it's just funny to listen to people about BBCOR and USSSA bats and launch angle. That's a news thing now.
Just think about all the people when we were playing softball, they were always looking for those bats.
Absolutely.
People just doing half swings and hitting it out of the park. I'm like, what the hell is happening there?
Freddie, you remember back in our day, we used to hit bats against telephone poles to put dents in them so that the ball would fly farther.
All right, I remember that.
We'd compress the bat, and we just had to pass the ring test to let the ring go over it.
Yeah,
So
they
you had to
take-
dent it, but not too much.
Correct.
Yeah, they had to have the right amount of dent in it.
Absolutely. And like when we were playing in our local leagues, no one checked it. But when you went to the state tournaments, they ran the ring down there and ring bats got pulled. But y'all have, heck yeah, hot
Oh,
bat.
yeah, just like
He says that it reminds me of wedding.
Hot
crashers.
route.
Hot route.
Hot route.
Hot
route.
route.
Hot route.
Yeah.
What's a hot route?
I don't know what that means.
I bet.
So Scott, since we're talking a little bit about softball, how about top 3 memories that you have from playing softball with Timmy and myself?
Gosh, I'm going to tell you, we've had a lot, Freddie. You and I have had a lot. I got great stories. I'm not going to use names, but one time, I don't know what happened. We were playing in Marine City. I just got done neck surgery. Something was going on. I just had fusion done. I shouldn't have been playing. I was playing. We had to play at first base, and Freddie, quick play at first base. Freddie grabs the ball. He's the first baseman, and bitch, I don't know if I can say that. I hope it. Bitch slaps the guy across the head. Just slaps him right in the face. He's out. A fight breaks out. I'm in the middle of it, and some dude wrangles me in the neck. Mellon comes running in from the outfield, and Wayne BBCOR is going, whoa, 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 whoa. It was the hysterics, man, because some dude's trying to choke me out, and Freddie's laughing his butt off as he smacked this old man across the face. I can't remember who it was.
An old man, Fred.
Well, he was older. I mean, it was a player. I remember that. And then I remember, I'll never forget that ball that Ronnie Tenyer hit up in Midland. It's probably the farthest ball I've ever seen. I thought I was someone big because I hit the building. And this guy, Ronnie Tenyer, hit this ball that went over top of this other stadium. And everybody, all the fans run up to the top of the stadium to look to see who hit this ball. It was the farthest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It would have went out of Old Tiger Stadium in left field.
It was crazy. It
It would have been over the roof.
And then,
I mean, the fences that we played at these tournaments were not like our fences. I mean, they were 300 and then they were tall. Ronnie's first time up, he hit a piss missile line drive out of the ballpark and hit the side of the wall of the concrete stadium wall. First one. Then I'm at first the next time up, and he hit this pitcher's mound in that field in the air.
There's people everywhere. As soon as he hits it, everything just goes quiet. Everybody's like, holy shit.
Yeah. And he almost ran past me because I stopped and I was just like,
now, did that bat have a little bit of ding in it, Scott?
Yeah.
Get a little ding in that bat.
Had some hot sauce in there.
We called him the fridge. He had calves about this big. He was huge. And then one Freddie story for you. So Freddie said that if we won a state title, Freddie would go streaking down Marine City, and we were all on Joe Tenyer's porch drinking beers after we won a state title. After we didn't expect to win a state title, then all we hear is a whistle, and here comes Freddie streaking, running down the road to throw towards town.
We almost had to do it again this year.
We were trying. We had a bet with them that if Utah was in the top 5 at the end of the year, that he would do the same thing in downtime Marine City. But
yeah.
Freddie, that would not be pleasant at our age.
No,
nobody wants to see that.
And it would hurt a lot more now than it would back then.
It would look like, Peter Griffin from Family Guy. That's what it looked like.
Hey guys.
He's totally naked. You don't see anything bad because
Yeah, you won't see anything bad.
Oh God, that's funny.
Remember Robbie Tenyer?
Yeah,
of course.
Isn't he a coach? Like
he's a head coach at Moorhead State.
he recruited my son to go down there. Connor, we went down there for a visit to see him. I love him. I only got to play with him a couple years, but he's just a great dude.
I heard he was a coach somewhere. I just didn't know where.
Yeah,
Moorhead State. At Moorhead State.
Yeah.
Yep, and they can't give scholarships there either.
Correct.
So
that's why we didn't go there.
They can't. Why not?
They're one of those elite schools that they don't give.
Kind of like Hillsdale doesn't.
Scholarships.
Hillsdale doesn't accept financial aid.
because they don't accept any federal money. That's why Hillsdale
Yeah.
doesn't. They don't meet any the federal.
Hillsdale is a very Republic school.
Without a doubt, yes.
Yes. Which used to be if I think I got this right, was it just a female school at one time, way back in the day in the 1800s or something like that?
You got.
I don't know.
I did not know that. I've never heard that.
All I know is Chester Markle, the kicker from the Green Bay Packers, went there.
Really?
Yeah.
Does the Lions take the Packers out in 2 weeks out of the playoff with a win against them?
Dude, did you see how they played last week?
Yeah, it was horrible. It was bad.
No, the Packers.
Oh,
No,
yeah. Packers are
They're improving.
they're gonna beat Minnesota this week.
They're not the same Packers they were about 6 weeks ago.
No,
They're all
they're
the
not.
receivers are starting to learn what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like that game scares the crap out of me if it involves us getting in the playoffs. Roger,
I
think Minnesota. I think Minnesota beats them this weekend. And we don't have to worry
Minnesota's
about.
like this, and Packers.
No, I mean, Minnesota's like this.
No,
They're flatline.
They're not playing. I mean, they won last week, but haven't they lost like 3 out of 4 or something like that? 2 out of 4.
I don't know.
No, they don't. Last game they lost was against the Lions.
You remember when the Packers lost the Lions last time? You remember what Roger said? We lost to that team. That was his post-game conference. We lost.
He did say that. He did say that.
He will not. He will do everything in his power not to lose to that team again.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless we run the ball. If we run the ball, we can play with anybody. But if we cannot run the ball, you can forget about it. Can you believe how bad we got dominated by the last week?
No.
The line of scrimmage was like everything we hang our hat on was terrible.
I
Like
think
Hutchinson was thrown around like a little girl in that game. If you single watch what they did to him, it's like they never put. I'm going to complicate it. I don't understand how they don't know how they don't know how to do the read option, like how to defend it, or they look like they hadn't even prepared for it. Like the guy wasn't going to run it. It just makes me crazy.
I just the other thing too is what's going to happen if we'll see what happens with the Rams pick, but since Baker Mayfield's come there, all of a sudden they're starting to play better, which pisses me off because I knew that was going to be a problem. But if we were to get in the top 4 and we were able to get either Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, to complement Hutchinson on the other end, now you can't double team him, and let's see what else he can do. Because he's getting double teamed all the time. So having that end and then having another dominant down lineman and a linebacker, that's what they need to focus in on this draft. But
the last game they didn't double him as much because they got to account for the other kid that's got 4 sacks in 4 games. What's his name?
Houston.
Yeah.
Like he's an up and comer. Like Freddie, they need help. That's for sure. The linebacking core is the room is
right.
tiny and they don't fill, and then they fill. They're not in the right spots, and half the time. What about benching Okudah last week? Did you guys heard they benched him? Right?
Yeah.
No.
Second half, they benched him because he wasn't tackling.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to happen to that guy? Because he was trending up.
Well, the thing was he was sick. He had pneumonia.
I thought that was the week before he was sick. I didn't think
he still has the conditioning part coming out of it.
Right.
So I'm not giving him any credit because yes, he's been better this year, but was he worth the number 2 pick in the draft?
No. But when he's good, we're decent. We can half the field's taken care of. When he's bad, we get exposed.
Oh, you aren't kidding there.
Well, I think the Lions, what happened to them last week, they started to believe their own hype. I think they weren't playing with the underdog mentality anymore, and nobody giving them a chance. And now everybody's talking to them. They're the hottest team in the NFC. And I think they bought into the hype and they got smoked.
That's a good point, Mike.
I agree with that. And I'll bet you $1 right now that when that game was over, I bet you Campbell and that coaching staff said, all right, now that you guys are off of cloud 9 here, it's time to get back to work.
Yeah, you know what? I like it. Okay, they were trending up. They've had this adversity in this game. This is a good lens for us to see how good they can be.
We find out what they're made of, right? Right.
Are they going to bounce back from this? And I mean, they should, without a doubt, just wax the floor with the Bears, right?
I just wish I wish we would get a better cursor if we were away this week, because being home, we always play well at home. I mean, for whatever reasons, we always do, and I think we'd find out more what they are if we were on the road.
If they're on the road.
No, they had the Packers the last game at Green Bay. That's the ultimate test right there.
Right.
Wow.
But I mean, just the fact that they went from 1-6 to 6-2 over, I mean, something clicked. So I mean, I didn't expect them to win this past week. I thought it might be close. But the thing is if I'm in the Lions and okay, who do you want? If I'm going to lose to Carolina, I want Sam Darnold to beat me. And Sam Darnold, all he had to do was this.
Hey,
He's just handing the ball off. He didn't have to throw the football.
One thing, getting embarrassed. They got embarrassed. They hang their head on being tough sons of bitches in the trenches.
They got bitch slapped.
Mauled.
Yeah, that was not indicative of the team that played on Thanksgiving Day against Buffalo.
So I was watching a little bit, and they didn't even have the center help out on the tackles. The guards took the tackles themselves, and the center was always free to get to the backers. That's why the plays went so much. They were pulling the center, or he was climbing to the second level. So they were just mauling the defensive tackles, and the ends were inconsequential. They didn't do anything. They put their reads in a bind, so they had to make a decision. And half the time they made a bad decision, and then they were off and running on the edges. It was horrible. It was a bad watch.
It was. Well, it's still a successful year, though. I mean, for what they've been the last couple of years, 7 wins is pretty damn good from what they've been the last couple of years. So I think
I agree. I think they're trending in the right way. They just don't have enough talent yet. You watch them; they don't have enough back end talent. They don't have enough line. I mean, look what we're doing with linebackers. What's his name's back again? Number 40.
Davis.
Davis is now a New York Giant.
Oh, he is?
I
Yes.
thought I just saw they called him up from the practice squad.
He just got signed from the practice squad, and now he's with the Giants.
Well, he was there last week with us.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. He's playing, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's blitzing. He was on a couple of blitz packages.
Now they just put him back on the practice squad, and they signed another guy off of our practice squad too. That was a player that played a little bit too.
Who?
I can't remember who it is. But
Scott, predictions for the 2 championship series games, NCAA football.
I think TCU is going to give Michigan all they can handle.
I think it's going to be close, but I think Michigan wins.
It'll just come down to our ability to run the ball down their throat. If we control the line of scrimmage and our back stays healthy, the one back we have stays healthy, Michigan will win.
So I just heard this, one of the talking heads on ESPN. I think they're the 72nd ranked defense against the run, TCU.
Right.
So that plays in the sweet spot of Michigan. But now, will they make a big command presence this last 3-4 weeks to shore that up to try to stop the run? I'm sure they will, but will they have the talent to do it? It should be interesting.
The tail of the game will be determined on big plays. If Michigan can minimize their big plays, if they don't give up big plays, Michigan will win the game. But if Michigan has to get into a throwing game with them, if they can't rely heavily on the run game, Michigan will be in trouble if they have a very average first half and TCU has a wonderful half. Because I don't think that guy's pretty talented behind the dish, and running quarterbacks can carry bowl games. We've seen it.
Oh, and Michigan has problems with them.
Right.
Every year.
Yeah, every year. You have been a football coach. Is it impressive to see that? Because I see other teams that have committed to this in theory, but in reality they don't, is the run. So, Michigan could get down by a couple scores and not get flighty and still be committed to the run to get back in the game, where I've seen other coaches.
Absolutely.
They will get wonky and they just start trying to throw, get out of their game, and then you're chasing good money for bad.
Right. I agree. Just as long as they don't get behind by too much where they have to throw, man, then I think we got problems. And the Georgia game, I just have a hard time believing if Ohio State had a year to prepare for Michigan. They had a year to prepare for the scheme. They had a year to be angry about what the hell happened to them last year. And they showed up and played that way against us. They had a year to prepare for us. So, like, I just don't know if I still think Georgia is going to beat them. I don't, unless they target that receiver 35 times and he has an unbelievable game.
The only thing I can think of is if it looked so bleak for Ohio State after the Michigan game. But if you're the coaching staff there and the people around that program, you can still say, listen, we are right where we want to be. We only had one loss. We're in the championship series. If we beat Georgia, we get revenge on a rival this year, beat them for the national championship. That'll be the greatest story ever told in the history of this program.
Just remember, though, all those players have been in that locker room all year long and saw and prepared for Michigan, and they thought they had every answer to shut Michigan down. And they were exposed in the biggest televised game ever. Those players, once you
you watch that game, I mean, they rattled off a lot of yardage against Michigan, especially in soft zones. It came down to a couple big, mistakes. They had missed coverage mistakes that allowed Edwards to break through, and then nobody in the secondary to run for because
they went man to man, like Michigan.
They went to man to man, but don't you think they would adjust for that if they faced again?
Well, I just think it'll be another adjustment for us if I don't think they're beating Georgia. I don't. No,
I think Georgia's defensive line's a lot better than Michigan's too. So we know how Stroud does under pressure. We saw
his stock
not
is
good.
Yep, and he doesn't run. He can't.
His stock is plummeted.
It has plummeted. You're right.
And like doesn't have confidence in what he's doing anymore. I don't think
you can tell.
Right.
Look on his face. When you see him make those plays, you just see he's lost. Completely lost.
He talks about that too, and he says the right words. It says, "Hey, I don't trust what I see anymore." It's crazy.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
He's gonna get a mouthful of Bulldogs at that game. There's no way. I don't see it.
He's gonna look like a big giant milk. He's gonna look like a big giant milk bone to the Bulldogs.
He doesn't have the escapability. I don't know. I just.
You think they're just gonna eat him up?
I do.
Yep.
I think Michigan matches up a lot better against Georgia than Ohio State does. Ohio State's still kind of a finesse team. Michigan's not. Michigan's a power team.
Last night I watched, or maybe it was today. My days are off. I've been off work. Michigan State, Michigan replay game. So they played it today. What's that receiver, that big receiver from Michigan State?
Right. They stopped throwing to him.
I know it.
Jalen Reed.
Target him more.
Jalen Reed.
No. Starts with a C.
Oh, he's a big, strong guy.
Yeah, last name starts with a C. He had the one touchdown and the one he got.
And TCU has a guy like him, a big-bodied guy like him. That's what scares me about TCU.
I don't know where this kid is at Michigan State if he's a senior, but that kid would be. I'm telling you, he goes up. He's strong. He's big. He high points the ball.
Right.
He can run. He's not real fast, but he can run with authority.
Well, I'm glad that he got the one touchdown because that's the only time they scored.
Right. Yeah, but they got one. Did they get one that was called back or something? No.
Might have.
Ass kicking.
Yeah. Well, I think he's a good receiver.
Well, good for God. I'm glad he's a great receiver. Ass kicking.
Ohio State's got a lot of great receivers too.
Yeah.
Ass
kicking.
Some of them aren't going to be playing.
Yeah, some are going to be playing.
Yeah, some of them are going pro.
Yeah.
But
Scotty, whoa. We're talking about Stroud.
Yeah, what about Stroud?
Oh, no. Who's the quarterback who just transferred? He's not playing the bowl game. Ungale or whatever his name is for Clemson.
Yeah, he's playing. He just signed with Oregon State.
Oregon State, yeah.
Every year it's going to be be like that, man. Everyone's going to be going. They want to bet every day.
He was a pussy at Clemson, so a perfect school to go into the Beavers.
Well, the good news is Michigan's getting linemen transferring.
Mm-hmm.
The number one reason one of the biggest keys for our success is that center.
Yep.
They're getting starters. They're getting starters.
Who they said is the best offensive lineman in the country, and he's a second-team All-American.
Yeah.
You don't win with skilled people in college football. You win dominating the line.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's. It's nice to have the skilled people. You got to have them to compliment, but you got to control the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Scotty, hey, we appreciate you coming on the show. And
Love being here, man.
yep,
Thanks for asking me.
yep, we're gonna probably have you back on just before baseball season. Tell us a little bit about your team and what what's going to be happening. So I just want to make sure
Awesome.
you're more than welcome to come back on. We'll have Garbage Pail Head on with us too.
Oh my God. The screen's not big enough.
No
God.
shit, right?
Well, you're
Wow.
gonna have to help him out on how to do it. Because I don't know if he'll know how.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We
that's
taught
why-
him last
He's
time.
been on
Yeah,
once.
Technology is not kind to him.
No,
We taught him last time.
yeah,
He
between
used his
us and
iPhone.
Mo and us, he figured it out.
You guys have a great New Year. Thanks for having me.
You
All right.
too.
You too.
Peace
Take
out,
care.
boys.
Take care.